Okay, let's see my to-do list.
Ponies, 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 ponies.
No, that's not right. I need the one for Sunday. Ah, here we go.
Steven
Universe.
Browsing the Webernets, I've come across a lot of different viewpoints and ideas based around Steven Universe. One thing that has continued to interest people is the nature of the Crystal Gem Temple. Most people who watch this show see this and assume it is a statue made based on the fusion of rose, pearl, garnet, and amethyst. It has multiple arms and even multiple faces, like the smaller but similar fusion between pearl, garnet, and amethyst. There's even a giant sword lying around that has elements from almost all of their characters, and since those are the ones who lived there, it makes sense. Mostly. There are a few red flags that pop up when looking at this place, the biggest one being the core of the temple, or in this case, the heart. Like, this is just really freaking weird. And I don't think most people realize just how weird this thing is. Like, okay, yeah, we got a heart-shaped power core, or, something, running this humanoid-shaped place. It's punny, right? It's a pun. No, it's not. Because the thing about this is, gems don't have hearts. They don't have organs or anything like people do. They technically don't even have bodies. These things are just projections created by the gems. But puns! No! This is not a thing that they would do. This is not a thing they could do. You see, the gems are extremely intelligent, technologically speaking, anyway. They can build rockets and teleporters and laser guns, but they don't know the first thing about biology. After the temple had already existed for a long time, Rose, the one usually seen as the smartest and wisest of the group, showed that she clearly had no idea how babies work or even why or how to care for them. The other gems seem to constantly forget that humans have basic needs that need to be met at all times. There's no way that they'd be knowledgeable enough to understand that one of the most important parts of human physiology is the heart, and they certainly wouldn't be smart enough to make a pun out of their architecture using said knowledge when it didn't even apply to them because they aren't organisms. So this begs the question, why the heck is this thing here? Who put it there? Clearly none of the crystal gems would have, and every other gem we see seems to be no more knowledgeable about human physiology than the last. So this leaves a few other possibilities. Either someone else put it there, or it was left there. Though nobody else intelligent enough to use gem technology would likely be understanding enough of what a heart is to put it there, which only leaves the answer that it was left there. But even then, if it was left there, why? By who? How? And why is it now used to power the temple? Maybe this heart is more than just a pun to the fact that the temple is shaped like a person. Maybe this heart is an integral part of the temple. Maybe this is literally the heart of the temple, and the temple is in a way, or was once, alive.
But sir, this is a fusion of all the crystal gems. Why would it have ever been alive?
That is where you're wrong, little Timmy.
My name's Cletus.
You see, this is not the fusion of all the crystal gems. Don't believe me? Shut up, who asked you? And I got proof. The evidence. This has all the gems of the crystal gems. Wrong. Well, okay, the pilot episode clearly shows all of the gems to represent the crystal gems, but so much is different in the pilot episode versus the normal series that I think it's safe to say that the writers are more than willing to deviate from what it originally indicated. Sure, it has a gem where amethysts might normally be, but a lot of people argue that this might even be someone else's gem since Amethyst was pretty young when this thing was made. And she certainly wasn't around during the war. There's this dealio on her palm, and yeah, that's pretty incriminating. It does look like a gem. Except that this gem is clearly not Garnet's gem. This one is smooth, almost as if it was pearls or something. And I don't know that there's any pearl with a gem on her hand. So what is this? Well, if we look at someone like Sugilite, she's got these fingernails that closely resemble gems, though we know they're not. They're just for decoration. Maybe this gem just really liked palm nail things or something. Also, I recorded this little snippet later on because I realized that I forgot something else. This isn't a gem at all. This is a warp pad. Warp pad. Anyway, continue. The gem on the head does seem more like a gem, but even then this whole top portion looks like a strange mask. Maybe that's just a part of the mask design, the same way Garnet has visors as a part of her design. As for Rose's, it's covered up by what is now the home. However, we were originally able to see that indeed there is another circle shape there, but this is also right above the doorway. This could just easily be some sort of architectural work to make it look nice. And sure, the inside of the temple seems customized to their liking to a degree. I think most of it is purely because they have gone through the trouble of making it into a home. There's evidence that it was not always this way. For example, though this door has 5 points on a star, like, the crystal gems and everything, there are also 6 gem-looking bulbs above the door. Does this mean that there were originally 6 crystal gems? Or that the fusion is of 6 different individuals? I don't think so. I think it's just design, like the doorway. And to further prove this, none of the gems have any design on them like they should if they actually represented the crystal gems. In such a detailed statue, one would think that they would want to add that individual representative detail. And finally, in the story of the founding of Beach City, they showed that the giant woman who helped the mayor's ancestor had 4 arms. I'm not saying this is a perfect silhouette or anything, but Pearl's description had to have at least gotten the number of arms right. Right? I feel like she would have. Anyway, if the fusion of the 4 of them resulted in a 4-armed giant woman, then this puts the last nail in the coffin for this temple, because this temple does not have 4 arms. In fact, it doesn't even have 6 arms. It has 8. And an earlier design shows that it was going to have 10. 10 arms. Also, another side note, in the Buddy episode, he seems familiar with everyone except Rose. So maybe this is just the 3 of them, right? Because their fusion has 6 arms, not 4. So I still think this fusion is someone else, namely the fusion that everyone thinks this is. These 4 people. Carry on. So here's the deal. We're dealing with some kind of 8 to 10 armed giant gem creature that also seems to have a heart, similar to humans, that has now been turned into a temple. It's really strange. Now, I don't have any definitive answer, but I do have an idea that seems to potentially fit. In the last episode that aired as I write this, Bubbled, Steven for a brief moment wondered what would happen if someone tried to poof him. He is half human after all. It's a really strange idea. Honestly, I would just guess that his physical body would not poof, it would just die. And Rose would be able to come out again. On the other hand, what would happen if he was shattered? If the half of him that came from his mother was destroyed? The source of his power and half of what makes him, him. Here's a guess. We know that the gems are the actual living being, not the body. When they're shattered, bits of them are separated and their power no longer functions as one being. They're fragmented both literally and mentally. And the gems are living forms of actual gems we see in the real world, kind of shiny material that are not unlike stones or metal. When gems are shattered, their bodies dissipate and retreat into the shards that remain. Steven, however, has an organic body. His body would be unable to just retreat into the shards. It would still be there. But what would happen to it? Maybe it would just die, but I like to think something more interesting might happen. Maybe his body, deprived of the power that his gem supplied, might revert to some other similar material state, like stone. Though within his stone cocoon, some of his body might still function to an extent, like his heart. So what am I saying? This great beast of a statue is the remains of what Steven could eventually become, given enough age, development, and or fusions. This is a dead, partially human gem, repurposed into a home, just like any other defeated gem might be repurposed into a power source or a tool. Who is this gem? While I'm not sure, I would venture a guess to say that it might be Pink Diamond. Yes, I'm serious. The visible gems aren't diamond-shaped, of course, but being a diamond might also function as a political title. Pink Diamond was one of the 4 rulers of Gem Homeworld. She's the one who ran the Earth colony, and for some reason, that was the only place she ruled. All of the other gems show planets, signifying what number of planets or colonies that they ruled. Pink Diamond only has the one, with its moon, Earth. Why is that? As someone else pointed out, I'm sorry, I forget who said it. The other diamonds are all in positions of grand power, whereas Pink Diamond seems like she's rising up out of the ground. Maybe this means she is the youngest of the diamonds, or maybe it means she's one who was born via different means from the others, like being half human. And interestingly, on Earth, there is a huge crater from which many, many diamonds have been retrieved. Within the show, maybe this is where she was born. Then Rose Quartz shattered her. The crystal gems knew all along that this happened and kept it from Steven. So maybe they're keeping what the temple truly is a secret as well. And if her gem was shattered, then that removes her source of power and immortality, leaving the organic matter to do something like this, to turn to stone. Yeah, Orcs might stick people's heads on pikes to freak out their enemies, but at least they don't make fortresses out of their dead kings. You guys are messed up. It's weird and unusual.
That's unusual!
Yeah, what he said. Thanks for watching. I may or may not do more on Steven Universe. I don't know. I'll see. In the meantime, I have more stuff on the brain getting ready to be made. Check out my Patreon, and thanks to my current patrons. Jason, Jen,